Welcome to the Engaging Staff and QAPI conference call. My name is Ellen, and I will be your operator for today's call. At this time, all participants are in a listen-only mode. Later, we will conduct a question-and-answer session. During the question-and-answer session, if you have a question, please press star then 1 on your touch-tone phone. Please note that this conference is being recorded. I will now turn the call over to Donna Thorson, Senior Project Manager with HealthInsight. Please go ahead.
Thank you, Ellen. I appreciate it. Welcome, everyone. We are really excited to be bringing you this topic, and especially I'm really excited to have Deb share with you. Our speaker is Deb Fournier, the Chief Operations Officer for Maine Veterans Homes, an independent nonprofit organization providing long-term care services to veterans and their families. Deb is a member of the executive team and provides operational oversight of 5 multi-level skilled nursing facilities, 1 residential care facility, clinical information systems, quality and compliance programs. She's a certified professional in healthcare quality, and she currently serves on the American Health Care Association's Quality Improvement Committee and Not-for-Profit Council. Deb is a former board member and past chair of the Maine Healthcare Association Board of Directors. She's passionate, and I can speak to that. She is very passionate about being a champion for improving the lives of residents living in nursing homes and for her peers, and is recognized as a transformative leader. She currently resides in Buxton, Maine with her husband of 33 years, her daughter, and 2 grandchildren that are the light of her life. And I have to say that I have really enjoyed preparing this for all of you, and I'm excited to have her share her content. So I'm going to turn it over now to Deb.
Thank you, Donna, and good afternoon, everyone. I am very excited to be here today on this webinar, and I'm hoping that the people listening can take away a nugget or two. And as Donna said, I am very passionate about what we do in long-term care and about improving quality and the life of the people who live in our homes or communities or facilities, however you refer to them. So with that, I hope to share with you how we have engaged staff in our quality assurance and performance improvement journey. And with that, I'll kick it off and start with the learning objectives for today's session. This is the formal part, and then we'll just get into the meat of it. I hope that you're able to identify strategies for building leadership commitment for staff participation in QAPI. I also hope that you're able to develop a plan to lay the foundation for QAPI and active engagement of your team. And then lastly, really, to be able to describe the structural elements of QAPI and strategies that you might use for building accountability. And before we get into the next slide, I just wanted to let you know in advance that sometimes I refer to quality assurance and performance improvement as QAPI, and sometimes I affectionately refer to it as QAPI. So you might hear me going back and forth a little bit with those terminologies. All right. Donna mentioned a little bit about who we are, but I always do like to start there just because it sort of sets the stage for when I really get into how we organize our structure and how we do things. So as you know, you've heard that I am the Chief Operating Officer for Maine Veterans Homes, and we are unique in the nation. Most of the state veterans homes across the country and in the states where you reside, they are either owned by the state or managed in some way, but have a direct relationship with the state. And in our organization, we do not. We're an independent, nonprofit organization, and so we have a very unique structure. So by statute, we have 6 facilities in total, and then our central office. And they are located in urban and rural areas in Maine. And when I put the slide together, I said, okay, urban, but compared to other states, they may be small, small areas. So our largest population in our big city is about 150,000 per day. So I say small urban and rural areas. We have 4 multi-level facilities where we provide skilled care services, long-term care, memory care services, and assisted living, and most of those are for early dementia. And then we have 1 freestanding assisted living that resides on a campus with an acute care facility. We serve exclusively veterans, spouses, and Gold Star parents. I'm not sure if all of you are familiar with the term Gold Star parent, but what we mean by that is a parent who had a child who was a veteran and they were killed in action. And then lastly, again, just to reinforce, we are an independent nonprofit organization and as such receive no direct state appropriations like many of our other state veterans homes across the country. So that just puts a little bit of a context into who we are. And now I'll start the journey and share with you what we've learned along the way. It really begins, and I think it ends with leadership. It starts and ends there, and to create an organizational culture of improvement, it takes commitment from the top with the executive team and the board, whether it be a board or owners. It takes that type of commitment. And then also the commitment from leadership for frontline staff participation in creating that culture for quality improvement. At Maine Veterans Homes, our journey really started about 8 years ago. And what happened was we had some turnover in the executive team. And the CEO, who was relatively new, identified the need to really take the quality program to the next level. The chief operating officer was retiring, and he sought the opportunity to look at things in a different way. And so he brought me on board and really charged me with taking the quality program to the next level. In working through that with him and looking at what was in place, we agreed that it really needed to become a strategic priority for the organization if we wanted to achieve our goals. And so we first started with updating the strategic plan and, in fact, added quality of care and quality of life as the first 2 goals to the strategic plan. And embedded in those goals were action items to create a QAPI steering committee, which I affectionately call the QAPI work group, and a results dashboard, a culture of improvement, transparent without blame, and active engagement from the workforce. And that was embedded in the strategic plan and our active goals for moving forward. At the same time, just before I had come on board, they implemented a transition from a cost of living based annual evaluation system to a merit-based annual evaluation system. And so we took the opportunity to build an incentive program that aligned and held people accountable for achieving results and moving the organization forward. So let me give an example of that. When we have quality improvement priorities that we want to focus on, what we'll do is we have stretch goals for all employees. Every employee has at least 1 goal on their performance evaluation. And in those goals, we use opportunities like they will participate in a performance improvement team on fall reduction. And the expectations are that they will attend at least 80% of the meetings. They will engage in the solutions and the root cause analysis and the data monitoring and the reporting. And so we embed that accountability into our performance-based merit system. We also take the opportunity to look for people, CNAs in particular, that are in our career ladders. And we use our career ladder structure to include participation on performance improvement teams or other improvement committees. And we have both CNA Career Ladder 2 and a CNA Career Ladder 3. We've also done some 1 and 2 type of ladders for other departments, such as dietary. So we're really looking for building accountability. And strategically, what we first identified was that we didn't have a lot of alignment. And so we had a lot of variability and lack of alignment. And so we began to use this accountability system to build alignment and to move us forward. So what do I mean by that? Well, I mentioned the stretch goals for some of the direct care staff. Well, I would use those same kind of stretch goals for leadership and for senior staff. And so the whole organization becomes aligned with quality priorities. We're also expected as a leadership team to free up resources to make sure that we have the resources to participate in improvement activities. Recently, I was on a phone call with one of my administrators, and I was talking with her about her quality program and where she was going and how it was going. And I said, you know, how are you engaging staff? How are you making sure that staff is engaged? And in her facility, it's very small, 30 beds, so the resources are limited. Well, she said to me, my staff participate in all of my performance improvement projects, and what I do is I ask the staff, you know, what time would work for you? And what I do is I make sure that the meetings are scheduled during that time, and then I'll ask management or some of the other departments to help cover and support the team that's left on the floor while the other members are participating in the performance improvement team. So that's one strategy that facility uses to make sure that she has staff participation. And some of our other facilities use different strategies. I have one home that has standing committees, and she puts a sign-up sheet on the employee board, and they sign up, and then oftentimes that gets then transferred into the merit-based accountability system where that's identified as a stretch goal. So I'm hoping that those couple of tips are helpful for some of you as you think about how you might engage staff in quality improvement activities. I really do believe leadership sets the stage, and that 75% of the success is really relative to the leadership and the champion for any improvement. The other aspect of the journey for Maine Veterans Homes that we learned, and we learned this early on, is that in order to create that culture of improvement, we really need to build the skills at each level of the organization. We found out that not everybody is skilled at facilitation. And so when we ask people to put a team together and come up with improving this outcome, it's really important that whoever is put in charge of that has the ability to inspire and motivate and facilitate a team meeting. And so in one of my homes, I was asked by the administrator to come down and teach her leadership team how to facilitate performance improvement projects. And I was very excited. I'm very passionate about QAPI, and I said, sure, I'd love to come. And so I came down, and I know her staff, I know her leadership team, and as I'm in the room and I'm beginning my presentation, I'm thinking, oh, this is going to be fun because they're going to be great. And I had some high-performing leadership members there, but what I discovered was that although they were high-performing in their role, they were not confident and comfortable with facilitation of team meetings for improvement. And it was a really enlightening moment for me, and I had to take a step back and really start with the basics without making assumptions on their comfort level or their skill just because they were successful in their role. And so that was a learning. The other, certainly the other pieces that I feel the workforce we need to build skills on is, we use the Plan, Do, Check, Act model. And so the tools that we use along with that, what that model means, and then the root cause analysis and those tools and how you would conduct that analysis. Really, staff don't have those skills. And so building them at every level and reviewing the expectations of staff is important. And then lastly, data analysis. Again, this is an area we discovered that most of our staff do not have a comfort level with this. And even our leadership team do not have a comfort level as a general rule. And so we've had to do some dedicated training on how to pull data, how to look at data, how to put data into graphical displays, and then begin to understand what the data is telling you. And that is something that we continue to struggle with, and we continue to work on how are we going to educate the leaders and subsequently the people that are participating on the performance improvement teams. Recently, one of our strategic priorities is reducing falls, and we've been committed to that for the last 3 or 4 years. So it's a strategic priority for us. And one of our homes was struggling to really continue to make some progress towards our best practice goal. And I asked our coach how they were doing and what things they have tried and if they've analyzed the data. And what I discovered is that they really weren't comfortable with analyzing the data. And so I asked the coach to pull the data for 6 months. And she and I pulled it, separated it, put it in a format that we could analyze. And what we discovered was that most of the falls were happening on one unit on 3 to 11 between 8 and 9 p.m. in the resident room. So we were able, through analysis, to drill down where the problem was. And then what we discovered was what we thought was going on was we had a system issue, and that the employee breaks were scheduled during that hour. And they didn't have the backfill for resource at that time. So since that was identified, we brought that back to the committee co-chairs, and they were able to look at a different system for employee breaks and backfilling so that they had consistent resource during that time. And subsequently, we've seen a reduction in falls. So that was just a very good example and learning of the importance of providing the tools and building the skills with regards to these elements. So laying the foundation for the workforce, as we began that journey, we knew that we had to start with new employees, and we didn't really have anything in place to begin to introduce them to this culture of performance improvement. And so we standardized education throughout the organization, and really we kept it at a high level. The high level of what is quality assurance and performance improvement, what are the guiding principles for our organization, for Maine Veterans Homes. And for those of you that are looking at the slides today, you will see the QAPI guiding principles on the slide with our quality model in the center. And what you're actually looking at is a photo of a mouse pad that we have at all of our computer stations that are displaying our QAPI guiding principles. We also take those principles and we frame them and we put them in our large conference areas where we are working as a team on quality improvement. Because the expectation is that the staff know these guiding principles and that they're deployed every day. This is how we work. And so we really spend time at orientation on helping the new staff to understand our expectations with regards to quality improvement. A transparent culture, active engagement, and no blame. We look at systems for improvement. And then recently we discussed a training plan that was a little bit different to ensure that we continue to educate and train. And now we're doing an annual refresher on these very basics for the entire workforce. In addition, though, we've decided that we would offer our leadership team an advanced course in the tools that they need to help the performance improvement teams. And those include advanced training in how to facilitate PIPs, how to be a facilitator, hold a meeting, how to look at data, how to conduct root cause analysis, all the things that we've just, been talking about. And so that's in the process of being rolled out at a different level. I hope one of the things that that comes through today is that this really is a journey. We've been at this for 8 years, and we learn every day, and we continue to strengthen the program. So I hope that comes through. When we first started, we used the QAPI at a Glance toolkit, and the first thing we did was conduct a QAPI self-assessment. And here I go again saying QAPI instead of QAPI. And what we did is we asked each of our facilities to take the self-assessment tool and to go back and with their team do their own assessment. And they did. They did their assessment, and then they brought those results to the QAPI steering committee. And as a steering committee, we reviewed the performance and the program elements as a group and came up with where we felt we were. From that, we put our annual QAPI plan together. And as part of that process every year, we identify not only what we think our improvement priorities should be, but also what the education and training needs are of the workforce. And so we put those together. We also design and decide on what our key measures are that are going to be displayed graphically on our dashboard that are going to contain improvement targets and goals for the next year coming up. And then we present all of that. I present all of that to the board. And the board reviews, we discuss it, and then we sign off on the QAPI plan, and then this goes back to the work group and to the workforce. How we educate the workforce in general is through town hall meetings. We have a town hall meeting structure that works quite well, and we really have made a lot of progress using this strategy. Our organization has a quality champion, that's me. And so when the CEO and myself conduct these town hall meetings, at every session, our quality priorities are discussed. And we do 3 sessions at all of our homes. I would say we do 3 rounds at all of our homes. And right now I'm, in fact, in the middle of doing a round where we go to every single one of our facilities. We do several sessions at each of those homes. And we talk about what our priorities are, how we're doing. We review the dashboard measures. We talk about, from their perspective, what's working and not working, and what we need to do differently, what are they hearing from the customers, what are they hearing from our residents, etc. And I was really excited last week when I went to one of my facilities, and I was about to present on the PowerPoint slide, and the technology failed. And so, you just go with it when those things happen. So I said, okay, team, the next piece of the town hall meeting is we're going to talk about our quality priorities, but we don't have any slides. So I'd like to hear from you, what are our priorities? What do you know? And what really, really was exciting is they were able to tell me what the quality priorities are. And I was thinking to myself, oh, we've come a long way, because they couldn't have done that 5 years ago. So again, that journey component, that reinforcement, that really getting to the workforce and sharing this is what we're doing and why, and then talking with them about their role in helping us to achieve our results that we're looking for. Just really important. The dashboards, the result dashboards, are posted in our homes. They are shared with the staff because we know that if we don't put the data and the results in the hands of the staff, we truly won't achieve the improvement that we're looking for. Also, some of the unique things that we do is we have done a lot of focused education on the QI methodology. We have, remember I said that we do these QAPI self-assessments every year, and we identify opportunities for re-educating or training the workforce. So the first few times we did this, we recognized the gap of people feeling comfortable with participating on a performance improvement team and facilitating that, et cetera. And so we did focused education on how to facilitate a PIP, what the Plan, Do, Study, Act cycles are, and most recently we did focused education on how to conduct a root cause analysis. We have been doing root cause analysis for some time, but I realized because they send me their root cause analysis summary, and oftentimes I'm pushing back, saying things like, was this just done by nursing instead of done by the team? Where we looked, what was the system findings? Was pharmacy involved? Was a med review done? I realized that they weren't quite grasping the total intent of that root cause analysis. And so I brought that concern to our quality work group, our quality steering committee. And I asked the team, the senior team, how comfortable they were with performing root cause analysis. And what I discovered was only a couple, 2 or 3 really, were comfortable. And so it's my thought that if our senior team are not comfortable with facilitating those types of meetings, then it's difficult for me to expect the general, leadership to be able to do that and staff to feel comfortable when they're participating. And so really, that was an aha moment for me. And so I decided that at the next few steering committee meetings, what we would do is we would actually do them. And we would take case studies, and we would role play, and we actually ended up doing it several times. And when we had someone who was comfortable, I asked them to be a mentor with someone who was not, and then they mentored each other to become more comfortable. And then the charge after this training was to go back to their facilities and do routine root cause analysis at least once a month on people who were failing multiple times. We were doing root cause analysis on every fall with major injury prior to this, but my thinking was, gee, wouldn't it be nice to do these proactively on people who are falling multiple times instead of waiting until they have a fall and a fracture. But this allowed us to look at that near miss and also practice our skills at conducting these root cause analysis. So that was very exciting. I loved it when I heard that the proficiency was building, and in fact, many of our homes decided they would do them weekly. So that was great. And as we continue to monitor our fall incidents on our dashboard and see the improvement happening, very exciting for us. So that was recent activity that we did just this past year. So we also make sure that we're available to support the performance improvement teams when they're in the middle of a project. And we have an organizational PIP going on right now for recruitment. Staff stability is one of our key strategic priorities. And right in the middle of this performance improvement PIP, the co-chair called me up, and she was struggling with some issues, and and the team was looking to expand their work and not quite staying to the charge of the charter, and she was looking for some guidance around how to navigate that. And we were able to do that very successfully, but I think it is important that the performance improvement team, that champion, that facilitator, have support when they need it to make sure that they have that backing along the way. And then a unique idea that we've done, because we're a multi-organization, we have a coaching model that we're using right now with our fall reduction improvement committees. And we decided, instead of doing an organizational-wide team for improvement with fall reduction, that we would do decentralized approach. So each of our facilities has a performance improvement team for reducing falls. But once a month, the co-chairs of those teams go on a conference call or come to our corporate office, and the coach facilitates a meeting where she shares the data using a storyboard format, and the teams discuss how their meetings are going, what they've identified for causes, any barriers, any successes, and challenges. And so as a group, they work through those, and then they review how we're doing as an organization. And so that coaching model is a little bit unique, and we've had a lot of fun with that. In fact, recently, the coach sent out the data to that team announcing that we have achieved our targeted goal for the first time. And so there was a lot of enthusiasm on the email trail with that success. With regards to structure, for us, one of our opportunities for improvement is figuring out how to prioritize. And so we've been working on using a brand new tool which we call our Prioritization matrix. After we do that self-assessment, we've looked at our data, we've looked at inputs and feedback, we identify and we list out what our potential topics are for performance improvement projects. And then we put them in this matrix and we look at alignment. Do they align with our strategic priorities? Are they a safety concern for the resident? Are they part of the business goal? Do they align with our core values? And then we prioritize and select our performance improvement projects. Once that occurs, we begin to form those teams. And first and foremost, we look for that facilitator and that champion. We need that champion to be there to inspire and motivate and be passionate, really to be passionate about what we're looking to achieve. The team itself develops a charter, and so that all team members are on the same page with the goals that we're looking to achieve, and how we're going to go about that, and what the roles and responsibilities are for each member. They decide on the schedule, they decide on the frequency of meeting, and how they're going to collect the data, conduct root cause analysis, and then what the reporting structure will be. For organizational-wide priorities such as falls, and I mentioned we have a recruitment performance improvement team right now in progress, we expect reporting back to the steering committee. And in fact, we have a standing agenda in that after reviewing the minutes and the old business, we have a report out from those strategic priorities on how we're doing. We look at the data, and we talk about the successes, the challenges, and the barriers, and what we need to do to move forward. So building in that accountability for progress and outcomes and help if they're stuck in any way. Oops, let me flip to the next slide here. So I thought, I just recently did a presentation on recruitment, and I was asked to do the good, bad, the ugly, and I thought, that would be the same kind of approach here, because it is a journey. We have had challenges. And staffing has certainly been a challenge, and I'm confident that I'm not alone in this industry when I say that, Maine is struggling with workforce supply. And so for us, we haven't been able to escape that challenge, and so staffing has certainly been a challenge for us. And so we had to look at, how do we ensure that, care is still being provided at the level of quality and excellence that we are known for, and still providing those resources to participate in performance improvement activities. This past fall, we had a lot of competing priorities, and I'm sure I'm not alone there. We had to make sure that we were bringing our organization into compliance with the emergency operations rules, phase 2 of the requirements of participation. At the same time, we decided as an organization to implement a couple of very large projects. We began to implement a customer relationship management software and completely changed the way we do sales and marketing, and then put in place our first development program. So we had a lot of competing priorities and had to fight to keep, quality improvement front and center. And then the learning curve. The learning curve is huge. The learning curve with quality improvement tools and the journey. So it's continuing to educate and role model and role play and guide and mentor. So the learning curve is steep, in my opinion. And as I said, we've been at this for 8 years. And then finding that champion and that skilled facilitator and building those skills. Some of our successes, we've been very blessed in this journey. Last year, we received the 2017 Best Places to Work Award for a large company in Maine. And that comes from a random survey that's done with our staff. And, you have a certain level of performance and success that needs to be demonstrated. And we were awarded this recognition. We're very pleased with that because we know that happy staff equals happy residents. We also have used the American Healthcare Association's Quality Award Program to help us with this quality improvement journey. It provided a systematic approach that we've adopted, and so all of our homes received about 8 years ago, 6 or 8 years ago, I must say, the Bronze Quality Award, which demonstrated commitment to quality. And then they progressed to that second level award, which is called the Silver Quality Award, where each of the homes has to demonstrate achievement in quality. And they use the Performance Excellence Framework from the Malcolm Baldrige Gold Standard for Quality. And then in 2016, our Scarborough facility was awarded the Gold Quality Award, one of only 34 facilities across the nation to receive this level of accomplishment, and the only one in Maine since the program was designed in 1996. So we're very, very pleased with that accomplishment, and 3 of our other homes have applied for that Gold Quality Award this year. We recognize that it really isn't about the award. It is about the journey and how we are hardwiring systems to achieve that desired result, and how we are engaging the workforce and the residents and the families in that process. Recently, I had an administrator ask me about taking the next step and involving residents and families on an improvement committee, on their quality steering committee in the home. I was thrilled for them to get to that level where they can begin to actively engage the people who we serve. Nothing about me without me was a significant success in the journey, so I was really pleased. And we've seen significantly improved clinical outcomes. Our antipsychotic drug use is down way ahead of our goal right now. And on the slide, what you see is one of our dashboard measures in graphical display. It's our loyalty measure from our customer satisfaction survey. we have an outside vendor who telephonically does our surveys of our residents, and we monitor our performance every month with how we're doing with a sample of our population. And we have achieved best-in-class recognition across our homes for exceeding the expectations of our customers. And so we're very pleased. Again, happy staff equals happy residents. And so we are committed to continuing the journey of finding ways of engaging staff in quality improvement initiatives and performance improvement teams. So with that, I think it's time, if anyone has any questions. I believe it's 45 minutes in, so it might be a little shy, but I'm available if anyone does have questions that I can be of help with.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Would you like to begin with instructions?
Well, I would like to actually say a little bit before you do that. Thank you, Ellen. I just wanted to thank Deb for all that she's done to share this with us. And note that I actually put into chat a question to ask people to share what some of their successes and challenges have been as you've implemented the QAPI program. So if you're too shy about being on the phone, please use the chat box. And so, Ellen, if you would go ahead.
Thank you. We will now begin the question and answer session. If you have an audio question, please press star, then 1 on your touch-tone phone. If you wish to be removed from the queue, please press the pound sign or the hash key. If you're using a speakerphone, you may need to pick up the handset first before pressing the numbers. Once again, if you have a question, please press star, then 1 on your touch-tone phone. And we're standing by for questions.
And I see here that Paula Brown is typed in just getting started, so I hope that Deb was able to share with you some tips to help you get started. While we're waiting for the questions, Deb, I'd like to ask you to share a little bit about the staff's reaction to having these stretch goals related to QAPI in their merit-based performance evaluations.
Initially, when we asked staff to put stretch goals in, some were very open to that, and others were struggling to come up with the goals. And that's when, we talked with folks about there's so many things that they're doing to move the organization forward. Here's an opportunity to really take credit for them and to incorporate those into their annual review. And it adds to their score, and their score is used, it's linked to compensation and their merit. So we have, for the most part, most staff have adopted it. The one thing I didn't share that, Donna, I think the audience might enjoy is we do have in one of our homes, we have a very active performance improvement team that's working on reducing falls. And in fact, they have achieved best practice rates. And but on that team is a person from our maintenance department. And they have the stretch goals included, but he has become so passionate about reducing falls that they came up with a theme that it's kind of like if the resident falls, it should be like an airplane crash. It shouldn't happen. And that leadership lens of it shouldn't happen and we can prevent this is the lens that he's bringing to the facility. And he's so passionate about it that he's telling me the story of how he came up with this theme and he's rolled it out, and now he goes to orientation for new hires and he talks about why falls should not happen. So, and he's very passionate in his description to new employees and about really his commitment to not having falls in his facility. So that's just one example of how we've used those stretch goals and, we've tapped into people's passion and talents, to get them motivated and excited.
Thank you.
Audio questions at this time.
Thank you, Ellen. I was just going to ask. We do have a couple of comments and questions in the chat box. It looks like Donna Connor is saying their biggest success was eliminating restraints. Congratulations on that. And Chris Yabas is asking if you would be willing to share your fall management program.
I'd be willing to share what I have, certainly.
All right. Well, you have her email address there on the slides, Chris, so feel free to reach out to her. Ashley Hall-Hand is saying, my biggest challenge has been getting our QAPI up and running. We had a committee prior to me stepping into this role, but it was a very ineffective committee. We finally got a good QAPI plan to follow, but we are really just starting out. Our biggest challenge is having enough staff to get people interested in our QAPI committee. Do you have any suggestions?
I do. If I could just comment on that. I've really run these QAPI committees for most of my career because I'm so passionate about it. And often what I find in the traditional model is we'll have these committees and we'll go in and people are reporting off and really they're not engaged. So one of the strategies that I started using was when I started developing my agenda for the meeting, I would intentionally look for opportunities to have the members of the committee work on something together. So, for example, when we were putting the results dashboard together, I identified the performance improvement framework categories. So, workforce, leadership, resident choice, customer satisfaction, all of those different categories, and I had the members of the committee get together as a team and identify what was important for measures that we should consider. And using a priority matrix, they then took a step further and they looked at alignment for all of those measures. And after each step of them working together, they would come back and present as a team. So they really felt engaged. And I was able to get their buy-in for when we finalized the measures and the dashboard and presented it to the board because they were involved in the whole process. And so I've really intentionally used that strategically as I've been developing my agenda. Last year, I decided that the next step was now to have them start facilitating the steering committee. And I've done that in every organization I've worked. I've taken it over, I've steered it, and then I started to train them how to do it. And I sit right beside them, and I do the agenda, I put it all together, and then I work with them, and they facilitate the meeting. And they've really grown in that opportunity, and they feel part of the process. So that may be one strategy for you to consider trying something different.
Thanks, Deb. We have a question from Daryl Miller. How often is your leadership involved in QAPI? Do you have leadership members participating in your QAPI council?
Yes, the steering committee meets monthly, and most of our, in the homes, most of our committees are meeting monthly, and some more often depending on the need, but we meet monthly.
Excellent. Thank you. I'm going to put something out there for Donna Connor, perhaps to get on the phone into our queue. Melanie Womack is asking, she's curious how you eliminated restraints. We've done a restraint reduction trial and we had an increase in falls. How do you handle those residents who are not cognitive enough to understand that they do not have the strength to transfer unassisted, but also don't ask for assistance? Donna, would you be willing to get on the phone for us? I see that you've typed in, but maybe Ellen, and she pushes *1?
Correct. Please press *1 and we'll open up your line. And here's Donna, I'll open up her line. Go ahead,
Hello.
Donna.
Aloha. Hi, this is Donna from Hawaii, Aloha Nursing Rehab Center. Eliminating restraints was something we determined was in the best interest of our residents. We had a select few residents who were we were using wheelchair tables mostly, a few seat belts. We weren't using heavy restraints. We never did the 4-point or anything serious. When we looked at, we did root cause on every single resident to determine why we had them in a restraint environment. And basically figured out what we could do about the root cause. We had therapy involved and activities. We used a lot of non-firm approaches and took it down one person at a time. Biggest challenge was overcoming our nurses' absolute terror that the residents would fall. Looking at the data, we had none of the people that we reduced restraints from fell in the first 6 to 9 months. One had increased falls after a year, but that's as he's continued to decline. And usually when his agitation becomes an issue. But he was one who would also take his tray table off and get up and chase people with it, so I don't think that was the problem.
Thank you. Chris Yavis would like to know, what are your staffing ratios?
Staffing ratio is a 4-letter word. We really don't use that term. We are, if you go by the PBJ, we are under our state, but over the national. So we pretty much fall in line. Daytime is usually about 1 CNA to 8 residents. So we're not exactly overstaffed. We pull together. We're very resident-focused. And usually the residents, for the ones that had the tray tables, the periods of time when they were agitated were limited. If you look at a resident's day, and that's what we did. We took it one person at a time. Before resident-centered was a buzzword, we went one resident at a time. How do they spend their day? When were we applying the tray table? Why were we doing it? And a lot of times it was habit. It wasn't because they were restless at that moment. It's because that's what you did when they got up in the morning. They didn't need it at activities. They didn't need it when family was visiting. They certainly didn't need it at meal times. They didn't need it when they were calm. So
well, thank you very much, Donna. I appreciate you sharing all of that. And Naomi says, thank you for the information. I wanted to thank Deb again for all that she shared with us. And everybody, please, if you want to reach out to her, I know that she'd be more than happy to interact with you, because that's what I did after I heard her speak on a national call. Is there anything that you'd like to share with them before we close, Deb?
No, just again, I applaud all of the work that everyone's doing to improve quality of care and quality of life for the people we serve. I think as an industry we do remarkable things. So thank you for this opportunity.
Well, thank you. And I agree. You have the hardest job in the world to care for our frail and vulnerable elders. And we're trying to do our best as QIOs, Quality Improvement Organizations, to support you in that. So that's why we continue to bring you wonderful best practices and promising practices that are going on across the country. So please let your QIO know whether or not you really enjoyed this, and know that the recording will be available. The slides are available. The contact at your quality improvement organization has those slides, or I put my email in there earlier for someone who was asking about them. Thank you all for joining us today, and have a wonderful day.
Thank you.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, this concludes today's conference. Thank you for participating. And you may now disconnect. Speakers.